Well, hello and welcome. It's Tina Konstant here, and this is officially the Waffle-Free Storytelling podcast on the tubes. This is a brand new adventure. So, as with the podcast, all the waffle is down in the show notes, or you can go to www.tinakonstant.com for everything else. But for now, we are jumping right into the story, and today's story is called The Spoon. So, Baduma had been whittling her spoon all day. Her stew was bubbling on a fire beside her. The sun was coming down through the leaves. There was a beautiful cool breeze. And she was just having a really good day of it. But so distracted was she with the whittling and the sun and the smell of the stew that she didn't hear the fox sneak up behind her. It kind of crawled, kind of skulked, and suddenly, when it was right by her heels, it snapped and it barked, it grabbed her stew, it tore her spoon from her hands, and it ran into the forest. Baduma was stunned. She didn't even see that coming. But what could she do? She packed up her bags and she carried on her journey. The next day, though, she chose a spot for lunch that a fox could never get to, high up on a rock. Once again, she lit her fire, she put her stew there, bubbling away with deliciousness, and this time she got a lovely piece of wood from a pine tree, and she began to whittle her spoon. Again, the sun was coming down through the clouds, and it was another beautiful day, But once more, she was so absorbed and engrossed with the whittling of her spoon that she didn't feel the flap of the wings from the hawk above. The first thing she knew, the hawk was a screech and a cry. It flew down, grabbed her stew, grabbed her spoon, and flew off into the sky. Unbelievable! Baduma cursed. What is it with people trying to steal my lunch? But what could she do? She packed her bags, carried on her journey. But on the third day, Baduma was not taking chances. This time she found a cave. It was dark and it was cool, but it was hidden away. So she lit her fire, she put her stew on her fire, she got a piece of wood and she started to whittle her spoon. She looked above her, she looked beside her. She was not distracted today. But what she hadn't done is look beneath her. And it was from there that a serpent came out through the rocks, swallowed her stew whole, grabbed her spoon, and disappeared through a crack in the rock. Baduma had no words. Instead, she packed her belongings and she moved on her journey. She didn't stop for lunch. She ate what she found. She ate when she was hungry. She didn't light a fire. She didn't pause. She just traveled, and as she traveled, she picked up all the sticks she could find. She whittled them and she put them into her bag. Picked up a stick and whittled and put them into her bag. For a whole year, Baduma traveled, eating what she could find, whittling and putting them in her bag. After a year, she came to a meadow. It was wide and it was long, and she knew it was time to stop. In the middle of a meadow, she put a fire. In the middle of the fire, she put a pot. Inside the pot, she put a thick, rich stew. As it boiled and bubbled, the scent and the smell of the stew rose out of the pot and wafted down through the valley into the forest and into the air. And then Baduma waited. First came a bear. It hunkered low in the grass, it bobbed in its weaves, and then with a growl and a snap, he tried to steal the stew, but Baduma put a soft hand on his paw. And then she reached into her bag and she pulled out a spoon and she gave it to the bear and said, "Join me." Next came a badger. It scurried and it skulked, and just as it was about to steal the stew, again Baduma put a soft hand on his paw. She reached into her bag and took out another spoon and gave it to the badger and said, "Join me." Next came a giraffe, and then a lion, then a panther, then an elephant, and then a bee, and a spider, and a beetle, and a bug. Each one, Baduma reached into her bag and gave him a spoon and said, "Join me." And so the feast commenced. As the stories were swapped and the stew was enjoyed, Baduma left the gathering, and she went to the edge of a forest and climbed a tree, the tallest one she could find. She climbed to the very, very top, and from there she called to the fox, and she called to the hawk, and she called to the snake, and she said, "Come, bring your spoon, come and join us. There is enough for everyone." And that's it. That's it for today from the Waffle-Free Storytelling podcast. So have a completely splendid day, and I'll see you next time, both on the podcast and also right here in the tube. So visit www.tinakonstant.com. From there you can join the Waffle-Free Storytelling Fireside. I'll send you an email every time a new story is live. Of course, subscribe to this wonderful channel and click the little alarm button, and every time a new story gets added to YouTube, you'll be notified. It's so good that you're here, and I'll see you next time. Go hug the people you love. Bye bye for now.